Carolina's win over Virginia was massive. So where does it rank on my definitive top 5 list of the 5 biggest regular season wins of the Hubert Davis era?
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up? It's Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, the #1 sports podcast network there is. Thanks so much for making us your first listener watch to get your Tuesday going the right way. Special shout out to all our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course our insiders as well. Coming up on the show today, North Carolina's win over Virginia on Saturday. It was great. It was massive. It was huge. And we had a great question wondering, where does that win fall on the biggest wins of the Hubert Davis era? We're going to unpack that in the first segment. I'll give some honorable mentions in the second segment. Should be fun, and I'd love to hear where you're at on it as well. The football schedules for the ACC came out on Monday, so we're going to unpack the Tar Heels and how things are shaping up for them. And also, brand new AP poll came out on Monday, as it does every Monday. Carolina moves up 6 spots from 22 all the way up to 16 with the wins last week over Notre Dame and at Virginia. So great stuff there. Just got to keep winning. And that'll be great. Okay. Let's dive right into this. So after the Virginia win on Saturday in the live postcast on YouTube, our guy Derek Tyson asked some form of this question. Isaac, where does this Virginia win rank in the Hubert Davis era of regular season wins? So specifically, what I thought I would do today is I just went through all 4+ years of the Hubert Davis era. This is the 5th year, looking at all the regular season wins and came up with the top 5 list of what I think are the biggest wins for either the game itself, the context surrounding it, like why it was important, a comeback, anything of that nature. All of that I factored into it to make my own list of the biggest 5 wins of the Hubert Davis era. And then I had a bunch of them, so I'll give you some honorable mentions later on as well. Now, this is Isaac Shade's list. You are almost bound to disagree with me about some things, and I'd love to hear about it. What would you change? What games would you have instead of the ones I picked? Also, key factor here, regular season is the question. So you're not going to hear me say Carolina beating Duke in the Final Four. Why? Because that's not regular season. Okay, you get the deal. Here we go. I'm going to count it down from 5 to number 1. Here we go. Number 5 on my list. Friday, November 7th, 2025. 25th ranked Tar Heels beat 19th ranked Kansas 87-74 at home in the Smith Center. That was this season, the second game. A couple reasons I picked this. Coming off of last season's, quite frankly, debacle, where Carolina lost basically every important game they played, getting this win over Kansas was massive to set the tone for this season to say, hey, we are overcoming what happened last year and we're going to be a lot better. Carolina did that. I also thought it was important because not only did they do it, but they beat Kansas by 13. Remember last year, Carolina nearly came all the way back to beat Kansas, had an Elliott Cadeau 3 fallen at the closing buzzer, basically. The other reason I picked this, or another reason I picked this, is because of how historic it is. This is the first meeting between these two teams at the Smith Center, and I think it needs to happen more. More Kansas and Carolina, more Tar Heels and Jayhawks. I want to see it, so I put this one at 5. Also, keep in mind, Darren Peterson was healthy and played in this game. Really, really important. So that's why I picked this. All of those reasons. Number 5 on my list, the 5th most important or biggest regular season win of the Hubert Davis era. Number 4 on my list, Wednesday, November 29th, 2023. This is the 3rd year of the Hubert Davis era. On that night, Number 17, North Carolina scores 100 to beat number 10, Tennessee, 100-92. This game was at the Smith Center. This was the Carolina's first game of the ACC-SEC Challenge, as the ACC Big Ten went away because of changing media rights deals. Now it's ACC-SEC. Part of the reason I picked it is because of that historicity. Another one is because the first half of this game was perhaps the best 20 minutes any Hubert Davis coach Carolina team has played. 61 points for the Tar Heels that night. 61 in the first half alone in getting to 100. Now, obviously, that means, they didn't come close to that in the second half, just 39. Yep, absolutely. But they still did it. For Tennessee that night, you might recall Dalton Knecht was insane. He was so good. 37 points. One of his big kind of coming out moments of the early part of the season to arrive on the national stage. You might remember I desperately wanted Carolina to land Dalton Knecht because I thought he would be great. They didn't, and he was great at Tennessee. That night, Carolina had a trio of players all get to 20 points. RJ, Armando, Harrison Ingram all scored 20. For Elliot Cadeau, how about this? 10 assists, no turnovers in that game. I mean, Carolina was absolutely humming that night, and it was great stuff. Obviously, Tennessee kind of tried to come back and win it. They couldn't do it. Carolina wins, and man, so that's number 4 on my list of the biggest wins of the Hubert Davis era. Number 3, Saturday, January 24th, 2026. Number 22, North Carolina, 85. Number 14, Virginia, 80. Yes, this is where this game falls. Third on my list of the biggest wins of the Hubert Davis regular season era. Carolina, for multiple reasons, I picked this game. Number 1, the bigger picture of the season. Carolina had that great start beating Kansas 13-1, and then they've had trouble. Lost 3 out of 4. They beat Notre Dame. The defense has fallen apart. And Carolina, it seemed like there was no chance they were going to win this game. But they did so, and they got some critical contributions from Derek Dixon, Jarin Stevenson, that helped change the narrative, some of the possibilities of this season. And now I think we have a hopeful and brighter outlook of where things could go. So I think that's part of it, is it kind of being a turning point in the season. Another reason for it is the comeback. Carolina was down 16 points with like under 2 minutes to go in the first half, came back and won this game. The Jarin Stevenson of it all, Caleb Wilson's 14th 20-point game, Derek Dixon's revelation, all of that makes this number 3 on my list. Number 2 on the list, Saturday, March 9th, 2024, number 7 Tar Heels beat number 9 Duke Blue Devils at Cameron, 84-79. You might recall that Carolina had won at home earlier that season. That was the Harrison Ingram game. This one, who was it? Who was this game? You know the answer. This was the Cormac Ryan game. 31 points, 8 of 12 from the field, 6 of 8 from 3, 9 of 10 at the free throw line. Carolina secures the regular season championship that night. You might remember the players get out on top of the bus. Cormac Ryan's out there with the regular season ACC trophy. So all of that, the beating Duke, the sweeping Duke in the regular season, Cormac going nuts, that game getting Carolina the regular season championship, the scenes in the aftermath of it, all of that came together to make this number 2. I can imagine you're probably right with me on number 1, and there's nowhere else to go. For number 1, the biggest regular season win of the Hubert Davis era, Saturday, March 5th, 2022, North Carolina, unranked, 94, number 4 Duke, 81 in Cameron Indoor Stadium. Why? You all know it. Say it with me. This is the last regular season game of Coach K's career. Carolina beats him. And nobody imagined Carolina might win this game. It was a circus surrounding all the Coach K stuff. And then, oh, by the way, there was another team that played this game. It was the Tar Heels, and they won by 13. And nobody knew what to do. Coach K was awkward on the microphone afterward, and it was glorious. Also important is the fact that this cemented Carolina into the NCAA tournament field, for which they would eventually beat Duke again to end Coach K even more. Also, here we go, another point. This was the first ranked win of the Hubert Davis era. Yes, it took until March 5th, the final regular season game of Coach Davis's first season, for him to pick up his first ranked win. But oh, what a game to do it in. And against the number 4 team in the country. Great stuff from Carolina. So both the game itself and the enormity of what it meant in the rivalry, massive. So that's number 1 on my list of the top 5 biggest regular season wins of the Hubert Davis era. Now, obviously, there were games that got left out of this. So I've compiled an honorable mention list. I want to share that with you. I've also got several questions about the quads and how is Cal a quad 1 game, all of that kind of stuff. So I'll share that all with you coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mazda, this is Mazda's moving the game forward moment for those who show there's more to the score than what's on screen. I want to go back to Saturday in North Carolina's 85-80 win over Virginia, and the guy I want to point out is Jarin Stevenson, who in a game where Henri Veesaar was less effective, when Henri Veesaar was dealing with foul trouble, Jarin Stevenson steps in. Didn't play much in the first half, but the second half, oh my goodness, he went off. He scored 17 points in the final 13 minutes of the game, had an important offensive foul drawn, all sorts of great stuff. He was mixing it up with loose balls. Jarin Stevenson was kind of the impetus that made Carolina go in the second half, along with Derek Dixon. Great stuff. Moments like this remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that hard work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and that I never quit attitude. At Mazda, they put that same passion into every model. Highlights make the reel, but what it took to get there is what makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listen or watch of the day in the Locked On Network, the #1 sports podcast network out there. Go deeper with the show. Come on and get even more involved in this community by joining the Everydayers Club. The link for it's in the show notes. All sorts of great perks for you. A couple other games I want to mention. I'll just kind of fly through these a little bit more. They're not in any particular order here, so I'll just bring them to you. Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025, number 16 Carolina goes to Rupp and beats number 18 Kentucky 67-64. Yes, that was this year, but Carolina winning at Rupp for the first time in a long time, massive, critical, important. Next, Wednesday, December 20th, 2023, number 11 North Carolina beats number 7 Oklahoma 81-69 and hands the Sooners their first loss of the season. That was in the Jumpman Invitational when that happened. This game, important to me because that was the season where Carolina was a 1 seed, but so much of it was their defensive capability. That was the game. That was the game where we realized, oh, this team could be special defensively, and oh, were they. By the way, Otega Owe from Kentucky was on that team. Carolina, I thought it was important as well because the Tar Heels were coming off back-to-back losses to UConn and Kentucky. And so, man, critical win at a critical moment. Friday, November 24th, 2023, number 14 North Carolina 87, number 20 Arkansas 72. This was the battle for Atlantis in the 23-24 season. It's this game in particular was the third place game of the event. RJ's this was his ACC Player of the Year season. This was his first massive game in that bonker season. And obviously this game doesn't count for ACC Player of the Year stuff, but it just was part of his massive narrative that season. Carolina had lost in overtime to Villanova on Thanksgiving, a game that I think we probably thought Carolina shouldn't have lost. And this is coming off the year where Carolina hadn't made the NCAA tournament. So I was worried. You were probably worried. Like, is this going to be last season all over again? Is Carolina going to just dumpster fire everywhere? Because the Tar Heels the year before had been really strong till they went out to Portland and things fell apart out there. I was worried that would happen again, but this victory over Arkansas showed that it would not. Harrison Ingram, 13 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 assists shy of a triple-double. I always thought Harrison Ingram was the kind of guy that could have done it. He never did. But, man, what a win for the Tar Heels there. Next up, Saturday, December 21st, 2024, North Carolina 76, 18 UCLA 74. This is the CBS Sports Classic last season, and literally the only notable game that Carolina won all last season. It was their only ranked win of the regular season, to put it in not too fine a point. Ian Jackson, 24 points off the bench in this one. Really, really good win for Carolina over the Bruins. Next, Saturday, December 17th, 2022. North Carolina 89, Ohio State 84 in overtime in Madison Square Garden, part of the CBS Sports Classic. This was the Pete Nance shot to force overtime. There was all the stuff about Coach Davis letting one of the assistants, I can't remember who it was now, maybe Lebo, draw up the play. Carolina runs it. Pete Nance cans it, and it, again, one of the few important wins in that season. Last one I've got here of note, Saturday, February 25th, 2023, North Carolina 71, number 6, Virginia 63. It unfortunately didn't help salvage things that season. That was the season that was lost. Carolina didn't make the NCAA tournament, but this was their only win over a ranked opponent that season. So I just thought it would play here. All right, so there you go. There's my honorable mention games that I thought could have made our top 5 list here. Where I want to go next, multiple people have asked me about the quads and like how does that line up, all that stuff. Well, let me just give you Carolina's 4 losses. So Michigan State, Carolina played them on a neutral site. On a neutral site, 1 through 50 is a quad 1 loss. Right now, Michigan is number 9 in the nation. So yes, that is a quad 1 loss, definitely. In an away game, when you're on the road, quad 1 is anything against a team ranked 1 to 75 in the net. So Carolina's other 3 losses are SMU, Cal, and Stanford. SMU, 33rd in the net. So that one's not going anywhere. I would call that very safe, as is Michigan State. Those are very safe quad 1 losses. Cal, 55th in the net right now. So again, that's just got to be top 75. That's quite a safe quad 1. It's not like a definite, a very safe like Michigan State and SMU, but I feel good about that one. The one that is the Stanford game. Stanford right now is 72nd in the net, and again, remember 75th on the road is the cutoff point from quad 1 to quad 2. So hopefully Stanford can go out and win some games. Ibuka Okori can just keep going nuts, and we'll see what happens there. But that's the 4 losses. That's how those are all quad 1 losses. As for the wins, against the quad 1 wins anyway, Kansas is 15th right now. So at home, a quad 1 win is 1 to 30. So they're right smack dab in the middle. At Virginia, the Cavs are 14th. They just got to be top 75 for quad 1. That one's safe. Same for Kentucky. They're 28th. Just got to be top 75 for quad 1. And then Ohio State on a neutral. This one is kind of safe. Neutral is 1 through 50 for a quad 1 win. Ohio State's 36th right now. So I don't want them to start taking a bunch of losses, but it'll work for now. There you go. So that's the quad system. If you ever have more questions about it, please don't hesitate to reach out, because I'm studying this stuff all the time, and that's part of what I try to bring to you. All right, the ACC football schedule for the 2026 season came out on Monday. I'll share Carolina stuff with you, make some observations as well, and then we'll get out of here. All coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about TurboTax. Look, tax season doesn't have to take over your life, because this year TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. So instead of spending hours trying to figure out all these confusing forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person, or you can connect with them online. And then they're going to handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms and work to get you every deduction they possibly can. You can upload your documents, then you just go about your day, and you're going to get updates in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and is going to give you real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. So for a limited time, you can have your TurboTax, your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in, if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate. Get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, it may be late January, but it's time to talk football schedule. And so for those of you watching on YouTube, you can see that I've pulled it up. If you're listening back, no problem. Welcome into you all. You can go find it on my Twitter or something else like that. I've sent it out. Obviously, the UNC football Twitter account has sent it out as well. So you can go find it there. For those of you that are listening, let me read this off and then we'll make some observations about it. And one other kind of serious note before we get out of here today as well. So opening the season, August 29th, that's a Saturday, Carolina against TCU in Dublin, Ireland. Going to be a lot of fun. Carolina off the next Saturday. And then the third Saturday of the season, September 12th, Carolina hosts ETSU. The next week, Saturday, September 19th, Carolina is at Clemson to kick off ACC play. Then they are off the next Saturday, September 26th. Then they're back home in Keenan, hosting on Saturday, October 3rd, Notre Dame. And then the next week, Saturday, September 10th at Pitt. October 10th at Pitt. Saturday, October 17th at Duke. Saturday, October 24th versus Syracuse. And then Saturday, October 31st, playing on Halloween for the second straight year, Carolina is hosting Miami. Then we move to November. Saturday, November 7th, Carolina is at UConn for their last non-con game of the season. Saturday, November 14th, hosting Louisville. Saturday, November 21st, at Virginia. And Saturday, November 28th, say it with me, versus NC State. So there you go. That's the whole schedule. All 12 games of Carolina's regular season football season. Hopefully they can get a few more wins this year and get to a bowl game. Here's some observations on it for you. We already knew the teams that Carolina was going to be playing, but now there's this finality to seeing it laid out and being like, oh my, that is a schedule. Much more difficult than last year, and Carolina didn't handle that easy schedule well. So they're going to have to lock in, figure out, get some things going. For me, the hardest stretch of the season of any number of games is the third and fourth games where Carolina will go to Clemson, have a week off, and then host Notre Dame. That seems pretty obviously the most difficult. And right, once we get going, we'll see. This is just hypotheticals and on paper. But on paper, that's the toughest two-game stretch. At Clemson, week off versus Notre Dame. So the good news is you got a game off in between them. But maybe that's not good news because I'll tell you why in a little bit. You might also remember observation number 2. There's this weird thing as they try to get schedules figured out where the majority, 12 of the ACC teams, are going to play 9 ACC games, while 5 ACC teams, including the Tar Heels, are only playing 8. And then they got to supplement with some other high major games. And so those other high major games for Carolina are TCU and Notre Dame. But it's just this odd wrinkle of next year where, because they're trying to work at getting all the teams up to 9 ACC games, but the math is weird with the whole thing. So they got to get it figured out. But for now, Carolina is playing 8 ACC teams and then 2 other power conference games, of course, one of which essentially is an ACC game with Notre Dame. All right, observation number 3. Once again, frustratingly, Carolina's open weeks are early in the season. And the first one makes a ton of sense. Carolina's going to Dublin, Ireland. They're going to be off the next Saturday. Smart. But the problem is the ACC is coming right back around with Carolina's other open date 3 weeks later on September 26th. So for the entirety of the months of October and November, Carolina does not get a week off. No reprieves. 9 straight games. 9 straight games. Saturday. That's kind of crazy, but that's what it is. Observation number 4. Speaking of which, Carolina last year, remember they played on a Monday. They played on a couple Friday nights. Not this year. This year, literally, how about this? Literally all 12 games are on a Saturday. We obviously don't know the times because they can't or won't get that figured out. But Carolina will play every Saturday other than when they're open on September 5th and September 26th. So that's good news. Next thing, You might remember, I talked about it some that last season, literally every game flip-flopped back and forth between home and road. It's not that this year, but it's very close. There's a stretch where Carolina is at Pitt, at Duke, and then host Syracuse, host Miami. But other than that, it's literally flip-flop. Aside from the neutral site game, we don't really count that either one, but hosting ETSU, going to Clemson, hosting Notre Dame, going to Pitt, going to Duke, hosting Syracuse, hosting Miami, at UConn, playing Louisville, at Virginia, hosting NC State. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy, but there it is, nearly all flip-flop. So, all in all, a much more difficult schedule than Carolina had to deal with last year, and so they're going to have to be much improved, or it's going to be even worse than it was last year, and nobody wants to hear that. I know it, and you know it. All right, you guys, one other kind of serious note as we get out of here. You might have seen yesterday that Mitch Mason, who is the chaplain for the football team, he's been struggling for years and years with his health. And unfortunately, his family has had to make the decision. And I say his family, he as well, to start hospice care. So now he's going to be at home, where, just basically treating him, making him feel comfortable and easy. He had a really sweet post on social media. I forget which one of the 8 gajillion apps, but basically saying like, hey, I've come to terms with this. I've come to grips with it and I'm good with it. And, Mitch, I think as a man of faith, he would want me to say to you, yes, it's very earthly sad, but this is straight out of the Bible. We do not grieve as those without hope, because there is hope that I know that Mitch has in his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I know that's a very meaningful thing to him that he would want me to share with you. Again, as I often say about things about faith, not to shove it down anyone's throat, but it's just, that's a massive part of who he is and a massive part of his life. And so, yes, as these last hours, days, weeks, months, however long he's in hospice care lasts, for all of that, Mitch will continue to want to tell people about the name of Jesus. And so to honor him, I'm doing the same on his behalf. And if that's something, I love what we get to do, but if you ever want to talk about more personal things, man, I'm always down for that and would love to have conversations with you. So if you are the praying type, I would ask you to say a prayer for Mitch, for his family, for comfort, for peace in what is certainly a difficult time with a very hard decision that they've just made. So there you go. All right, you guys, coming up on the show tomorrow, Coach Rob's going to be with me. It'll be a lot of fun there. Can't wait for it. Then we'll have Josh Marlowe the day after that on Thursday's show. And then Friday, we're going to get ready for the Georgia Tech game on Saturday. Going to be a great rest of the week of shows. Tune in with us. Also, again, let me hear your top 5 list of the biggest wins of the Hubert Davis regular season era. I'd love to talk with you about that. All right, you guys, thanks so much for being here with us today. If you haven't subscribed on whatever podcast platform you prefer, do it now. Come check out the YouTube if you don't regularly do that. Go listen if you don't regularly do that. That all helps the show actually as well. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, we'd love to see you there. If you haven't joined the brand new Everydayers Club, we'd love to see you there as well. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.